I was making a video on another animal, but the people have spoken. Ants are one of the most amazing creatures on the planet. They live pretty much everywhere except for Antarctica. Forest, deserts, your kitchen, and the weird crack in the sidewalk. Scientists estimate that for every human on the planet, there are approximately 2.5 million ants. That comes out to a number that Google tells me is 20 quadrillion. There is evidence of ants roaming the earth for over 100 million years, which means that they've been able to hang out with the dinosaurs and somehow make it through several mass extinctions. Ants can be split into 3 different categories that are the exact same as honeybees: the queen, male drones, and female workers. Which ant takes on which role is more complicated to determine than a great ant sorting hat telling each egg what table to sit at. How each ant comes to be requires a very specific criteria to be met and rules to be followed. Before talking about the specifics, it will be helpful to have an understanding of the basic ant life cycle. The life of all 3 types of ants begins the same as your average chicken, as a small egg. Depending on various factors such as the species of ant, temperature, or humidity, the eggs will hatch between 7 and 14 days after being laid. Hold your horses, because full-blown ants don't erupt from these eggs. The next step on the journey to anthood is the larvae stage. Larvae are essentially little worm-looking things that have no arms or legs, truly a face that only a mother could love. These baby worm sacs are essentially helpless and need to be cared for by either the queen herself if the colony is young, or worker ants if the queen has a large enough colony to delegate the task to. After approximately 6 to 12 days of being helpless, these larvae spin themselves into a cocoon known as a pupae. It is at this stage that the babies start resembling what could be described as an ant, if your vision is poor enough. While the antennas are tight to the bodies, color is pale, and the head is too small, they have taken strides towards resembling their final form. Not much happens during this phase, besides laying low and slowly becoming the ant of their dreams. After about 9 to 30 days, the pupa metamorphosize into full-blown adult ants, ready to start their 9 to 5s and pickleball clubs after work. It's not a career aptitude test that determines the future role of the ant. Unique events that happen throughout what is essentially their childhood determines what type of ant will emerge. It's all about gender, what they eat, and a little chemical wizardry. The most straightforward career path comes down to if the egg is fertilized or not, which happens to determine the gender of the offspring. All unfertilized ant eggs become males. If a male is born, there is only one future career path available. Sorry to all the male ants that wanted to be an astronaut. Male ants, or drones, are born for one reason and one reason only: romance. A very brief and tragic romance, to be precise. Their fate is sealed the moment that they hatch, with their diets and hormones being tuned just right to prepare them for the one moment of glory: mating. Drone ants are smaller than their worker and queen counterparts, and normally can be found within the nest until it's their time to shine. When the timing is right and love is in the air, they will spread their wings and take flight. It is while in flight that they, along with other drones from other colonies, will find a queen ant in flight. Once their mission is complete, the drones generally return to the ground and live in isolation for a short period of time before dying, leaving behind a legacy of being the colony's ultimate one-hit wonder. It is generally believed that the cause of death is sheer exhaustion from fulfilling their singular purpose. Talk about understanding the assignment. When it is all said and done, a drone's lifespan may only be 1 week long, but what they do in that short time is critical for the ongoing survival of their species. So that pretty much covers the unfertilized eggs that become male drones. Fertilized eggs, on the other hand, will always become females, and females have it a bit more complicated and can fall into one of 2 career buckets. Worker ants are basically your default setting in an ant colony. As the saying goes, you are what you eat, and whether you become a worker ant or a queen ant all comes down to your diet. If you are born and not given the VIP diet of high-protein royal jelly, congratulations, you're a worker now. Your meals consist of a bland, carbohydrate-heavy diet that screams cubicle life. Worker ants are the backbone of the colony, and their job description is basically everything. Their future involves tireless crumb carrying, tunnel digging, and an utter lack of personal ambition. Ants can carry up to 50 times their own body weight, making them the ultimate gym bro. For comparison, this would be the equivalent of a 200-pound human being able to lift 10,000 pounds, all without supplements. While on the hunt for food, worker ants use pheromones to leave scent trails and alert the colony of food sources or dangers. Worker ants also take care of the queen's eggs, build and maintain the nest, and occasionally wage war against other colonies. Worker ants can live up to about a year, and during this time they never get a day off and don't even get to complain about it. Maybe some of the workers should have made an HR department. Becoming a queen ant is like winning the genetic lottery. If you're fed enough protein-rich royal jelly and the colony decides you're worthy, you get to live the dream. Raised in luxury from larva to adulthood, these lucky few are groomed with special nutrients and pheromones that set them apart from the commoners. Just because she is born into royalty doesn't mean that she is without responsibilities. During what is known as her nuptial flight, she will collect enough sperm to last for the rest of her life, so she only needs to mate once. The queen can live anywhere from 10 to 15 years, making this exchange one of nature's most efficient meet and greets. Once she is back on ground, the majority of her duties involve reproduction. She's an egg-laying machine with 0 days off. Her job is simple: ensure the survival of the colony by constantly producing new ants. During her life, the queen is able to lay hundreds of thousands of eggs, which is a lot of children's birthdays to remember if you think about it. Unlike honeybees, ant colonies often will have more than one queen active at a time. This allows the colony to have an increased amount of genetic diversity and also lay more eggs. When new queens are raised, they simply take off for their nuptial flight, partake in the drone meet and greet, and find an area to start a new colony. No mutiny required. While the queen-to-queen relationship is pretty friendly, that doesn't mean that some ants don't want to watch the world burn. Ants are known to partake in warfare with their neighbors for resources such as food or territory. Rival colonies often engage in full-scale battles, complete with tactical formations and specialized soldier ants. During these conflicts, some species even take the other colony's young as captives, forcing them into labor. It's like Game of Thrones, but with more legs. Just because some ants thirst for blood doesn't mean that every ant is a war-hungry insect. Some ants prefer to go the Stardew Valley route. That's right, some ants prefer the simple life, and rather than blood and war, have decided livestock farming is more their pace. Aphids are tiny little insects that secrete a sweet substance from their abdomen that ants can't get enough of. Aphid farming ants have created a symbiotic relationship with these little mini cows. In exchange for their sweet gut juice, the ants will herd aphids together on plants they feed on, protect them against predators such as ladybugs, and allow aphids to store their eggs in the ant colony nest over the winter, and return those eggs back to their preferred plants once spring comes around. Ants are not limited to only one type of farmer. They value farmer diversity, and in addition to raising livestock, are known to manage crops as well. Leafcutter ants are the crop farmers of the ant world. These ants spend their days searching for vegetation that they will cut down and bring back to the colony. Once inside, they will use the vegetation to cultivate fungus gardens that the ants will use as a sustainable food source. This gardening is incredibly advanced. Just like humans need to make sure they don't confuse portobellos with death caps, not all fungus is edible to the ants, and some have potential to devastate the colonies. Luckily for them, ants have developed mechanisms to recognize and control the growth of non-desirable fungus. Since we're on the topic of not cool fungus, part of the ant world experiences a real-life The Last of Us situation. I'm not even going to try to say this word. This fungus thrives in warm tropical environments. Ants are exposed to this fungus when walking on the ground between trees. Spores of the fungus attach to the ant's exoskeleton and slowly make their way into the ant's insides. Once the ant has been infected, it starts to display unusual zombie-like behavior, including full-body convulsions. These convulsions will often lead to the tree-dwelling ants to fall to the ground, but don't worry, they don't die yet. Ants will climb up onto shorter vegetation and death grip onto their stalks, before letting the fungus fully take over their body and ending the ant's life. After the ant has passed on to ant heaven, the fungus will continue to grow. Mycelia will sprout out of the ant carcass in order to further secure the fungus to the location it is at. When the fungus is ready to reproduce, what is known as a fruiting body, which honestly just sounds gross, will emerge from the ant and release spores into the surrounding area. Nature loves a good horror story. Ant nests are the epitome of efficiency. They come in all shapes and sizes, from simple underground tunnels to elaborate structures rivaling human cities. The average nest can house anywhere from a few hundred to several million ants, depending on the species. Some colonies have been known to persist for decades, handed down through generations like a family heirloom nobody asked for. In terms of size, nests can cover a few square feet for smaller species, while some super colonies can stretch over several acres. Fire ants, for example, can form sprawling underground networks spanning vast areas. As for depth, nests can extend anywhere from a few inches below the surface to over 25 feet deep in some cases. Inside the nest, there's a place for everything. Nursery chambers house the precious eggs and larvae, guarded by dedicated worker ants. Storage rooms hold carefully stashed food supplies. Think of them as tiny pantries stocked with crumbs and bug bits. Then there are waste disposal areas, because even ants know better than to live in filth. The queen gets her own royal chamber where she reigns supreme, laying eggs and barking orders, probably. During the winter, many ant species hunker down into their nests, entering a state of dormancy. They cluster together to conserve warmth and rely on stored food supplies to survive colder months. Essentially, it's a six-legged slumber party that lasts the entire winter. Building these intricate structures takes serious teamwork. Some ants dig with their mandibles, while others carry soil away, and a select few just stand around, probably supervising. The tunnels are carefully designed to allow airflow, regulate temperature, and provide easy access to food sources. It's like an underground subway system, but with fewer delays. Despite their impeccable construction, nests don't last forever. Some species relocate frequently, while others will maintain their colony for years. And when the colony gets too big, a swarm of ants sets out to find new real estate, because even ants have to deal with this housing crisis. Ants are amazing animals, and I'm glad that you all suggested that I make a video on them. I hope this video taught you something you didn't know about ants. I learned a lot in the process of making the video. Let me know if there's any other animal that you want me to make a video on in the comments below. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like so that you can see more videos like this one. That's all I got. Thanks for watching.